Solasta II is not Baldur's Gate 3. Shocking, I know. But I'll be damned if I didn't have the same kind of fun when I was playing this new demo for Solasta II that just released. Now this is a demo that you can go and play right now, so you don't actually have to watch this video or listen to anything I have to say. It's probably not the best thing to say in the first like 30 seconds of a video, but you can go play it right now. It's free, it's on Steam, you can go play if you have a PC. So console, I'm sorry, you cannot play it, I guess. So maybe you can watch this video, but there will be some minor spoilers just in some of the B-roll I will use to showcase some of the different dialogues and stuff like that, but nothing major. And this is a standalone demo, so this will not have any impact on the story that you are going to be playing when you play Solasta 2 itself, when it actually launches into early access and then later into 1.0. But I just want to give that warning at the head here. If you want to avoid all spoilers, go play the demo. Thank you for being here. Thank you for clicking on the video, but I'd rather you be able to just experience the game yourself. Now, if you're still here, thank you. I appreciate you very, very much, and so do my metrics. Let's talk about the game. Solasta 2 has already shown a tremendous upgrade from the first game with this demo. Something evident from the moment you pull up the menu, complete with beautiful music. To the shocking visuals of actively crumbling statues, lapping waves, and shining armor. It's a game that will appeal to fans of Baldur's Gate 3, even if it doesn't hit every single note of the masterpiece that Larian made. After playing the demo, I'm even more confident in saying that because for me, it scratched a lot of the itches I have for a beautiful, engaging, tactical fantasy CRPG. There is one specific area though, one part of the thing that was lacking in this game. And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the thing that was missing. We'll also talk about a lot of the stuff that was really, really great about this first initial showing of the sequel to Solasta. The game itself, in some ways. It's more of a one-shot D&D campaign. And a D&D campaign is really the best way to put this game. Everything I've experienced in the demo, from the combat to most notably the character acting and personality, felt like a marked improvement from the first game. I was engaged and I was invested. I wanted to learn more about not just the characters in my party, but also those around me and the locations I was visiting. There's a lot of attention to detail in things that can often get overlooked, like the music. It sets the tone really well in most places. I feel like there's some that could be, do some work, like combat specifically could add a bit more intensity, especially since turn-based combat and the chatter of your companions can drag at times. But other areas of exploration, as it intermingles with the sound effects of the world, especially as events are happening, are really, really solid. Kind of like this. But this is all complementary to the fantastic use of Unreal Engine 5 in a way that I've come to actually not expect. You see, I tend to see Unreal Engine as a bit of fool's gold where it comes to graphics, largely due to how it gets kind of fuzzy when you zoom in or out, or how it hyper focuses on details that aren't as important, like the veins of your eyes. I don't think I've ever cared about the veins of the eyes in characters in any game that I play. But in this top-down CRPG, I can really see how Unreal Engine 5 can do a lot because the world feels vibrant and alive and the environments are just gorgeous. But there's one little asterisk next to the vibrancy and the liveliness that we'll get into here in just a moment when we talk about some of the more negative things from the demo. But first, one of the biggest questions going into this game was about the quality of the acting, because that was one of the major negatives for people like myself in Solasta, the first game. It felt a little bit uneven. It was hard to engage with it in that way, the way that I did with, say, like a Baldur's Gate 3, or even more recently, a new Arcline. Well...
Oh, Jabori, where are you? You should be here by now. Hope it ain't that stupid dragon again.
Hey, Ellie. Are you okay?
Oh, bless my furry feet. Fancy seeing you here. Welcome to Torwen.
But I was here.
I need more time to unload, that's all.
More time? I need my stuff unloaded too, mind you.
What's going on here?
Who's asking?
People who are thinking about burning down your damn caravans.
Did he pay you to say that?
I can speak for myself. Move!
You have no right.
Unbelievable. We've come from the mayor's house. Even she complained about you.
I think she mentioned a fine.
She did. A big one.
See? We're both gonna get fined.
All right. I don't want to lose any more coin than I already have. I'll move the caravan now.
Tell you what, don't bother us. We don't bother you. Understood?
What will happen to this Siklas?
Mighty obsidian mistiness will eat him for a dinner. Probably calm her rage. At least for a day.
Oh, damn.
This was where I saw the most improvement beyond the visuals, where I really felt like they had made positive strides from the first game. The companions very quickly established their own personalities. You don't create any of them for this demo, they are all pre-made, and you are essentially your own party. You're not Tav, you are your party, but they have their own personalities. Now, we certainly won't be getting any Shadow Hearts or Asterians here, especially because as far as I know, there's no romance, which cuts out a whole swath of the RPG community and their die-hard fandom. But honestly, I was pleasantly surprised by the depth of personality and the interplay between the four companions, and it was driven home by stellar acting that really sells it. The writing isn't perfect, it rarely is anywhere, but it's very engaging and the lines are delivered so well with accompanying cinematics. I found myself hoping our little goth halfling here would make her way into the main game because I found her actually really compelling, and she really was just a total badass on the battlefield, if we're gonna be completely honest. She killed most of the things on the battlefield. But all of this extends beyond your core party. I was pleasantly surprised by everyone we talked to, from vendors to the mayor, to key story characters, to side characters. The only problem was there weren't that many people to talk to. When I say it's not BG3, this is specifically what I mean. In some ways, the vibrancy of the world actually fell away when you were in the city itself. That's where I started to notice the kind of the different size of team between a Baldur's Gate 3 and Solasta, which is like roughly like 20th the size of Larian's team making the game. But it's still a valid critique, I think, because there's a lot of NPCs who just kind of exist, standing there with no lines and very little animation. But there is hope, there is some hope here, because while this is just the demo for the game, we're even further from a 1.0 release than that, as Solasta II is planning to launch into early access in 2025, putting it into a 1.0 release further away. There is still time to add some voice lines to these NPCs, more animations to these NPCs, even if it's just a hello or some kind of little tiny bit of background for these NPCs. Something like one of the most fantastic parts of Baldur's Gate 3 was an NPC who really had one interaction, and that was it. This one.
Washing my pits, this is the song when up. Aye! Gonna bloke not get any bleeding privacy around here. Bunch of perverts, the lot of you.
I don't expect that level of quality with all of the NPCs. Just a hello is enough, but something to make them feel more engaged and more part of the world instead of just standing around props. The other part of that kind of sucked was the fact that the rest of the world didn't seem to have much interactivity either. There wasn't a ton of little, things that you could go out and explore and find things. Yes, you could go around and gather some certain things here and there. And yes, there was a couple little areas. There was a chest that I wanted to go loot, but I couldn't because, I got caught.
Honor, but as you're foreigners, I'll forgive your lack of manners. Sure, explore my house. I will check on my belongings later. No offense.
Had I planned to go in there and steal that chest from the mayor of the city? Who knows? I mean, who could tell? Did I still consider doing it after getting caught? Who's to say? Who's to say? But really, there aren't enough of those kind of things. And again, this is still the demo. There's still a lot to go. So those are the kind of things that I think could be added en masse as the game gets closer and closer to 1.0. So I'm not holding it too much against the game at this point. You know what I mean? There's also all kinds of little events and things that were happening as you were exploring the game, and some of the quests were very time dependent, as in if you did something like Long Rest, which we'll get to that in just a sec, but if you did something like Long Rest, you might kill off a quest or potentially literally kill off some NPCs. I wasn't clear if you could be evil in this game. I don't know if there's that kind of a level of customization where you can decide to not do things. So far, it seemed pretty linear, like a little vertical slice kind of thing. So we'll have to wait and see just how much choice exists. But at the same time, I was having a really, really fun time with the quest that I was on and how certain things were reacting to me as I was doing them. How I had little dice rolls that would allow me to convince some kobolds, for example, that perhaps I wasn't such an evil person, and thus avoiding a fight. At least temporarily avoiding a fight.
Ah! Take that!
But speaking of fighting, we gotta talk about combat. The combat is very Dungeons and Dragons. If you've played tabletop, you'll feel right at home with its familiar strengths and its weaknesses. It felt closer to the D&D formula than most other games like this I've ever played. More reminiscent of the tabletop to the point where I actually found myself struggling with a lack of spell slots and the use of sightlines where positioning matters. I do think I kind of figured it out by the end of the demo. Well, I struggled so much so that I actually, I may have let one of the main quest NPCs die.
We leave no one behind.
Twice. Good thing to learn about this is F5 is quick save and F8 is quick load, just like BG3. I used it a lot. I'm not ashamed of save scumming. I never will be. But I also may have, there may have been another quest where I let a lot of people die.
Thank you so much, friends.
Don't mention it.
We're lucky you came to the rescue. We've been repelling crabs for hours, but we were almost exhausted. They would have eaten us.
Well, you should go back home, through those caves. Beware of kobolds, though.
We will. Thanks again. And see you up there. Drinks are on me.
But in general, if you like turn-based combat, if you like D&D, you're going to enjoy this combat. It felt more polished than some other recent CRPGs I played, like for example, New Arcline, and it made me really eager to make my own party, mixing and matching classes, but even just using the sorcerer and being able to use sorcerer points to modify my spells and make them hit multiple targets, hit harder, or reach farther felt so cool. You'll also be able to replenish after combat using short rests, which continues to make heavy use of dice rolls, but this is primarily just to recover things like your health. To recover spell points, you're going to need to use long rests, but long rests in Solasta are much more impactful than BG3. First, they require a physical location. You cannot just long rest anywhere, and you will still need to use like food and rations to rest. And long resting will advance things. For example, when I first tried to long rest so we could wait for the tide to go out, I was warned that my actions would have consequences. Basically, that the fishermen may die if I didn't go and save them. So yeah, it's a good thing that I went to go save them instead of long resting. I saved one. The downside to long resting is the lack of any sort of tertiary advancement or companion building. The camp isn't there. It is not an interactable thing. And this is the friction part that I think is in part going to be an issue for some fans of Baldur's Gate 3, myself included. Camps in games like Baldur's Gate 3 and more recently Avowed are a great way to expand on the personalities of your companions. It wasn't exactly expected with Solasta II, but I'm still sad not to see it. It reinforces part of what Solasta the first game was, a D&D combat-based adventure with somewhat disposable companions. Given the extra efforts going into the performance of companions and what we've already seen with the increased depth, I fully expect to see a more nuanced and deeper take on them in the sequel, but the lack of out-of-combat, out-of-quest communication is telling of where exactly that depth may end. Yes, you cannot talk directly with your companions either outside of like a quest dialogue. So within the quest dialogue, you're all kind of talking. You will be talking with all four of your companions at step by step, and they will have interplay between each other. But you're not going to be able to just like take one companion and talk to the other one separately outside of that quest or that dialogue, at least for now. Although I would be surprised if this is something that gets expanded on and grown in the game itself, given that it's not in the demo. I would love to be pleasantly surprised by that, but I don't really expect that to change. Now, all that said, overall, this demo was fun, like genuinely fun. It felt like it was a digital D&D campaign, and Solasta II is showing exactly the improvements I had hoped for when I compared this game to like when Larian went from Divinity Original Sin to Divinity Original Sin 2. They've doubled down on what they did well and improved on what needed more work. I honestly didn't want this demo to end, but I'm still extremely excited for this game to launch into early access before too long. To get this good of a first impression from a freaking demo of all things, with an early access period where the game can actually be refined, just has me all the more excited for another CRPG adventure to lose myself in. This is not going to be a generational RPG, but that doesn't mean it can't be a fun, fantastic RPG worth spending your time in, and that's what I'm really hoping for. And so far, it's actually surpassed some of my expectations, which is just awesome. If you're a fan of tactical RPGs or you just love a good D&D inspired adventure, this is definitely one to keep an eye on. And just go play the demo. You don't have to listen to a damn thing I've said, which I know sounds weird at the end of this video, but you don't have to listen to anything I've said. You can go play the demo for free right now, as long as you have PC, and see for yourself if it's scratching those same itches that you have, if it's hitting the right notes for you. It might not. You may come away with a very different experience than I did. So that's why I recommend go play the demo. It's free. Just go do it and see if you like it. If you want a little bit more info on Solasta II, more about what the game is bringing forth, I cover it in the announcement video right here. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.